Story 1. I was a freshman, splitting my days between a small charter school on the edge of town and a larger high school a few miles away, where I played clarinet in the marching band. My dad taught history at the high school, his classroom a familiar mix of dusty books and faded maps, a place I'd always felt safe. But one chilly afternoon, that safety shattered. I was at the charter school, zipping up my backpack for the shuttle to band practice, when the intercom let out a low, guttural screech, like a radio gasping its last breath. Code red. Full lockdown. This is not a drill. Our teacher, Mrs. Carter, froze, her face draining of color. She slammed the door, yanked the blinds shut, and hissed, "Under the desks, now." The room plunged into near darkness, only faint slivers of light clawing through the edges of the shades. We crouched on the cold linoleum, knees pressed against chests, breaths sharp and ragged. My phone buzzed in my pocket, I fumbled it out, hands trembling, screen dimmed to avoid detection. A text from Jake, my bandmate at the high school. "You see this Snapchat?" Attached was a screenshot that hit like a punch. Some guy, no one knew his name, cleaning an AR-15, its black barrel gleaming under harsh garage lights, ammo clips stacked like war trophies. The caption was a death threat: "Fuck Sarah Miller, she screwed me over, and now this high school pays. You're all dead today." My heart stopped. Dad was there, probably mid-lesson, maybe joking about some old battle. Was he barricading his door? Or standing in the hallway, a perfect target? My mind spiraled. The high school's old brick walls, with their peeling paint and narrow corridors, were no match for a rifle. I opened a news app, the loading bar crawling like a dying pulse. Then it loaded: shots fired that morning at another school in our district, just a few miles away. Bullets had torn through a bus carrying the JV football team, glass shattering, kids screaming, one player grazed in the arm. No deaths, but the shooter was still out there, a ghost on the loose. Was this Snapchat kid connected? A copycat? I fired off a text to Dad: "Are you okay? Threat at your school." Sent. Undelivered. Sent again. Undelivered. The high school's ancient structure was a dead zone for cell signals. My hands shook, sweat smearing the screen as I pictured Dad cornered, his calm voice hiding panic as he shielded his students. Hours dragged in that stifling room. Every sound, pipes groaning, a janitor's cart rattling, felt like boots stalking the halls. Emily, a girl beside me, sobbed quietly, her nails digging into her palms. Jake whispered about SWAT teams circling the high school, helicopters thumping in the distance. Then, a faint knock echoed at the classroom door. We froze, hearts pounding like war drums. Mrs. Carter crept to the peephole, her face twisting in fear. "No one," she mouthed, but her eyes screamed otherwise. Was it a mistake? Or someone testing the lock? My mind raced. What if the shooter was already inside the charter school, slipping through empty corridors, checking doors? I gripped my phone, knuckles white, praying for a signal, a sign Dad was okay. The intercom crackled again, making us jump, prepare for transport to the high school. Transport? To the threatened school. Murmurs erupted. Mrs. Carter shushed us, her hands trembling as she unlocked the door. We shuffled onto buses, windows fogged with nervous breath, police cruisers flanking us like a death convoy. The ride was silent, save for a kid in the back muttering prayers and the hum of tires on asphalt. I stared out at the darkening sky, picturing Dad's classroom, third floor, corner room, big windows. If a shooter got in, there'd be no escape. The high school's gym loomed ahead, a concrete bunker under storm clouds. Inside, it was a nightmare, bleachers stacked as makeshift barricades, air thick with the stench of sweat and fear, fluorescent lights flickering like a low-budget horror flick. Coach Daniels, usually a rock, paced the floor, barking at us to stay low, but his voice cracked, eyes darting to the locked exits. Why bring us here, to the heart of the threat? A bus got shot up this morning, same district. What if the shooter was waiting, blending into the chaos? In the gym, a janitor's radio hissed, catching fragments of police chatter, primary suspect not located, reports of a possible accomplice inside the high school. Accomplice? My stomach twisted. I scanned the crowd, hundreds of kids, teachers, staff crammed together. Anyone could be hiding a secret. Then Ryan, a kid from band, nudged me, pointing to the bleachers. Carved into the wood, fresh and jagged, were the words, "This school, today." The paint was wet, red as blood, dripping like it was scrawled in a frenzy. It wasn't there during yesterday's band practice. Whispers spread like wildfire. Was the poster here, among us? Had they marked their target right under our noses? The tension broke when a kid near the back, quiet, always sketching in a notebook, started fidgeting, eyes darting to the exit. Nobody noticed until he bolted, shoving past Coach Daniels toward a side door. "I gotta get out," he screamed, voice raw with panic. Coach tackled him, pinning him to the floor as kids gasped, some crying, others yelling. They dragged him away, but not before his notebook hit the ground, pages splaying open. Scrawled across one, in the same red ink as the graffiti, "This school, today." My blood ran cold. Was he part of it? Or just terrified like us? The room buzzed with paranoia, every unfamiliar face looked like a threat. 3 hours later, the all-clear buzzed, abrupt and hollow. No explanation, just buses home. Dad was safe, shaken, his classroom untouched. News reports said the Snapchat kid, Ethan Caldwell, a high school dropout with a grudge against Sarah Miller, was arrested in a rundown trailer park nearby, his rifle confiscated. Cops called the graffiti unrelated vandalism, but I wasn't convinced. Days later, a teacher confided a chilling detail: that kid with the notebook, Ryan, didn't show up to school the next day. Cops found him that night, holed up in an abandoned shed a few blocks from the high school, his notebook filled with sketches, school blueprints, exits, blind spots, all circled in red ink. No charges filed, insufficient evidence, they claimed. But I still hear that knock on the door in my nightmares, see that dripping red graffiti, "This school, today." Schools are supposed to be sanctuaries, but that day, they felt like a trap, where the real danger wasn't just outside, but hiding in plain sight, waiting for its moment to strike. Story 2. I was a 7th grader at a middle school on the edge of a small town, where the suburbs bled into dense, shadowy woods. The forest loomed over our campus, pines casting long, jagged shadows across the parking lot. It was a place where nature felt close, too close. My initials are carved into a bench near the school's entrance, a relic from a class project, something for future kids to puzzle over. But those woods weren't just scenery, they were alive, and sometimes, they came knocking. It was a brisk fall afternoon, and we were out on the blacktop for PE, dodging balls in a chaotic game of kickball. Suddenly, Tommy, a kid with a hawk's eye for trouble, froze, pointing toward the chain-link fence at the field's edge. "Bears," he shouted. We rushed over, hearts pounding, and there they were, 2 black bear cubs, scruffy and curious, pawing at the fence. Beyond them, half hidden in the underbrush, a massive shape stirred, Mama Bear, her eyes glinting like cold steel. Black bears weren't rare around here, but seeing them this close to school, noses pressed to the wire, it sent a chill down my spine. Kids crowded the fence, some laughing, others whispering nervously, until Coach Larson sprinted over. One glance at the bears, and her face turned gray. "Inside, now," she barked, her whistle piercing the air like a scream. We scrambled back, the chatter turning to gasps as the intercom blared, "Code Blue. Lockdown. This is not a drill." Doors slammed, blinds crashed down, and we piled into the science lab, huddling under tables in the dim glow of emergency lights. The air was thick, smelling of bleach and fear. My friend Ellie grabbed my arm, her voice a shaky whisper, "What if they get through the fence?" My mind raced. That chain link was flimsy, barely enough to stop a stray dog, let alone a 300-pound bear. What if Mama smashed through, her claws tearing into the glass doors? Every rustle outside, wind, branches, sounded like a growl. Tommy, crouched nearby, swore he saw a shadow lurch past the window, low and massive. Was it real, or just the trees playing tricks? The lab felt like a cage, the hum of the lights buzzing like a swarm of angry bees. Hours dragged on, the room growing stuffy with nervous sweat. Someone whispered about a bear attack years ago, a hiker mauled nearby. My stomach twisted as I pictured Mama Bear pacing just outside, her cubs whining, drawing her closer. Then, a faint scraping sound came from the hallway, claws on tile. We froze, eyes locked on the door. Coach Larson crept to the window, peering through a crack in the blinds, her hand trembling. "Nothing," she muttered, but her voice betrayed her. What if the bears had found a way in? The school was all glass and thin walls, built for budgets, not beasts. Finally, word trickled in, animal control had arrived, baiting traps with Krispy Kreme donuts to lure the displaced family away. The bears were gone, but no buses ran, parents swarmed the lot, their faces pale, eyes darting to the darkening tree line. That night, I stared out my window, the forest a black void, feeling like it was staring back. The second lockdown hit weeks later, mid-history class. The intercom screeched, "Code Blue. Lockdown. Remain silent." Mr. Jenkins, our teacher, locked the door, his hands shaking as he yanked the blinds shut. We slid under desks, hearts hammering, no clue what was out there. Bears again? Something worse? The classroom felt like a tomb, air heavy, lights flickering, every creak of the building spiking adrenaline. Ellie whispered, "What if it's inside the school?" Inside? My blood ran cold. I pictured something stalking the halls, silent and lethal. Middle school meant bigger buildings, more entrances, too many ways in. The glass windows along the corridor were no match for anything determined to enter. Hours stretched, past dismissal, into dusk. No updates, just the distant hum of police radios outside. My legs cramped, my bladder screamed, but we couldn't move. Nate, a kid across from me, started whimpering, saying he heard scratching at the wall, sharp, deliberate, like nails on a chalkboard. Mr. Jenkins shushed him, but his eyes flicked to the door, sweat beading on his forehead. Then, a thud echoed, low, heavy, like something big brushing against the hallway wall. We froze, breaths held, waiting for the next sound. Was it pipes settling? Or something alive, sniffing us out? My mind painted horrors, a predator prowling, its shadow passing our door. I thought of my parents, probably stuck behind a police line, helpless as we were, wondering if I'd make it home. Later, we learned the truth from hushed parental whispers. A mountain lion, a 150-pound killing machine, had slipped through the school's open front doors, right past the receptionist's desk. Ms. Harper, the receptionist, had locked eyes with it, tawny fur, yellow gaze like a predator sizing up prey, before hitting the panic button and barricading herself in the office. The big cat roamed the halls, its paws silent on the tile, brushing lockers, leaving that thud we'd heard. Animal control took hours to arrive, their tranquilizer darts finally dropping the beast in a janitor's closet, its guttural growl echoing through the vents as it went down. We sat there until nightfall, missing dinner, our usual complaints about homework or video game time forgotten as the reality sank in. We'd been inches from death. The real terror came later. That cougar wasn't just wandering, new housing developments had chewed up its hunting grounds, pushing it into town, starving and desperate. But the twist? Ms. Harper quit a month later, too shaken to return. She told a parent, who told mine, that she'd noticed something else that day, fresh claw marks on the inside of a locked storage room door, deep and jagged, like something had been trapped there before the lockdown. No one checked that room during the chaos, it was bolted shut. Had another animal been inside, waiting to get out? Or was it the same cougar, caged earlier, only to escape? The school never addressed it, calling it a one-time incident. But I still hear that thud in my nightmares, feel the forest's weight pressing in. Schools are supposed to be safe, but when the wild comes calling, no door can keep it out. Story 3. I was a 7th grader at a middle school on the outskirts of a small town, a sprawling campus with long hallways and too many dark corners. It was the kind of place where rumors spread faster than wildfire, and danger always felt one step away. One muggy afternoon, we were out on the blacktop for PE, sweating through a brutal game of dodgeball. Coach Wilson, a guy built like a linebacker, was barking orders when he suddenly froze, his whistle dropping to his chest. "Locker room, now," he snapped, voice sharp enough to cut glass. We shuffled in, confused, the air thick with the smell of rubber soles and teenage sweat. Barely a minute later, the intercom screeched, a low buzz that sank into your bones, code red. Lock down. Remain silent. This is not a drill. The locker room went dead quiet. In post-Columbine America, code red meant one thing: active shooter. My heart slammed against my ribs as we crammed into the narrow space, benches creaking under our weight. My friend Jake grabbed my arm, his knuckles white, eyes wide with terror. "I don't want to die here," he whispered, voice cracking like he was about to cry. I tried to play it cool, muttering, "If it gets bad, we smash that window, drop to the grass, run for it." But inside, panic clawed at me. The locker room was a trap, concrete walls, one exit, a high window too small for most of us. If someone came through that door with a gun, we were done. I scanned the room, rusty lockers, flickering fluorescent lights, a dripping shower in the corner sounding like footsteps. Every creak made us flinch. Minutes stretched into eternity. No gunshots, no screams, just a suffocating silence that was somehow worse. My mind raced. Was it a kid with a grudge? A loner with a backpack full of ammo, like we'd seen on the news? Ellie, a girl on the next bench, whispered about a fight in the cafeteria earlier. A kid named Ryan had gotten into it with a senior, fists flying. Was this revenge? I pictured a figure in a hoodie, stalking the halls, checking doors. The air grew heavy, thick with sweat and fear, the lights buzzing like a swarm of angry wasps. Then, a thud echoed from the hallway, low, deliberate, like someone testing the door. Jake's grip tightened, his nails digging into my arm. Coach Wilson crept to the door, peering through the tiny window, his face pale. "Nothing," he mouthed, but his eyes said he didn't believe it. My phone buzzed in my pocket, screen dimmed to avoid detection. A group chat was blowing up, cops outside. SWAT van in the lot. Someone claimed they saw a shadow move past the gym windows. My stomach twisted. Were we surrounded? I thought of my parents, probably stuck behind a police barricade, getting spotty updates from the news. Another text popped up, "Heard it's not a shooter, someone's hurt bad." Hurt. My mind flipped to worse scenarios, a bomb. A knife attack. The dripping shower sounded louder now, each drop like a countdown. Nate, a kid in the corner, started hyperventilating, muttering about a kid he saw in the bathroom earlier, pale and stumbling. Was that connected? The uncertainty was a knife, twisting deeper with every second. 10 minutes felt like hours, but the all-clear never came so easily. The intercom crackled again, "Remain in lockdown. Do not move." Why? What was still out there? Coach Wilson's radio hissed, catching snippets of police chatter, "Medical emergency, secure the East Wing." Medical emergency? That didn't sound like a shooter, but it didn't ease the dread. If anything, it made it worse. What could be so bad they kept us locked in here? My legs cramped, my bladder screamed, but we stayed frozen, eyes locked on the door. Then, another sound, a faint, rhythmic tapping from the vents above, like something crawling through the metal ducts. Ellie whimpered, "What's that?" Coach snapped at her to hush, but his voice trembled, his hand hovering near the fire extinguisher like it was a weapon. Finally, after what felt like forever, the intercom buzzed, "All clear. Return to class." We shuffled out, legs shaky, the gym's fluorescent lights blinding after the dim locker room. No explanation, just Coach's gruff order to move it. Word trickled out later, pieced together from parental whispers and hallway gossip. No shooter. A kid, Ryan, the same one from the cafeteria fight, had overdosed in the bathroom, collapsing blue-lipped on the tile. Pills, maybe fentanyl-laced, stolen from a family medicine cabinet. Paramedics had rushed in while we huddled, reviving him just in time. The school hushed it up, citing privacy, but the truth spread like venom. The real terror hit days later. Jake overheard a janitor talking. Ryan wasn't just a user. He'd been dealing, stashing pills in his locker, just feet from where we'd been hiding. The lockdown had frozen everything, stopping other kids from dipping into his supply during the chaos. But the twist? That tapping in the vents. Maintenance checked the ducts a week later and found a backpack wedged inside, stuffed with baggies of pills, marked with Ryan's initials. How it got there, no one knew. Had he stashed it during the lockdown, crawling through the vents to hide his tracks? Or was someone else involved, moving product while we cowered? The school never addressed it, sweeping it under like dust. But I still hear that tapping in my nightmares, feel the weight of that locker room pressing in. Schools are supposed to be safe, but that day, the danger wasn't just a gun, it was hiding in the shadows, closer than we ever knew.